Hello, everybody. Well, if you came to hear the former Trump advisor talk about reasons why we should be bullish on Africa, then you're officially in the right place. So I'm not sure if you had that on the bingo card, but really for two main reasons, both the growth and the opportunity that I see with regard to Africa. Let's talk about the growth for a moment. Africa, people don't realize the rapid change that's happening right now. In fact, if you look ahead outwards to 2050, for example, Africa will pass Europe to become the third biggest economic bloc in the entire world after North America and Asia. In fact, if you look out to 2050, Nigeria will have the ninth largest economy in the entire world. When you think of the historical trends of why there are so many opportunities to invest here, think Singapore 1980, think China 1990, maybe India 2000, Vietnam 2010. I believe that's why this is now Africa's moment. This is the time to get in and invest. The other thing that's really spurring it is the fact that we're starting, the United States in particular, and the rest of the world, starting to de-risk from China. So as we look at the debate over trade, we look at what's happening with critical minerals, we look at the need to get additional natural resources, Africa has what everybody else in the world wants. So as we talk about the opportunities, there are opportunities in Africa with regard to critical minerals, rare earths, natural resources. Africa has it all. And as far as places where it can invest, basic consumer goods with the massive growing populations in Africa. You look at infrastructure, the infrastructure opportunities, whether it be in electricity and power, whether it be water, tech, obviously a big one. And also with the changing nature of Africa's population, think to Kenya a few years ago with M-Pesa, what they did with digital financing. Africa does not need to go and put down a whole bunch of terrestrial phone lines. Everything's moving to the smartphone. Everything's on the smartphone. But if Africa doesn't have the proper infrastructure, the data centers, the fiber optic cable, then it's not really going to matter. But I think one of the other keys where people need to pay attention, though, is that there are definitely some cautionary lights and some concerns. So for example, if you're investing in tech with regard to Africa, you got to make sure that it plays well in Lagos, not necessarily how it would play in LA. Think about the fact that if you don't have the power, then you're not going to have the AI, if you don't have the data centers and everything else. The other thing that I'd say too is one of the bigger points with regard to Africa, the macro here really supersedes the micro if you're taking smart investment strategies. As I said before, the de-risking of what's happening with the entire world, Africa has to make a decision. Do the countries of Africa want to be partners or do they want to be prisoners? Because you look at what China is doing to the countries in Africa, that is exactly it. You think about the unregulated trawling off of Guinea, you think about the toxic spills in Zambia, think about the debt diplomacy in Kenya and other countries. That is what China wants for every country in Africa. And by the way, it's not just in Africa. I think South America, if only the people of Brazil and Colombia knew what China had in store for them, they would be absolutely mortified. But this de-risking that's happening right now with the United States and China gives Africa these opportunities. So when you look at the macro, very rarely have we had something that's so obvious, so easy, but really these countries are going to have to make, I'd say, a business decision. The other thing too, when you talk about the macro, is it's real easy to figure out what countries are good places to invest in Africa. Do they have the rule of law? Have they been strong in fighting corruption? It's that simple. Well, and also political stability, but that's always a little bit of a sliding scale in some places. But if you don't have those, then it's not good to invest. If you do have it, then it could be a great opportunity for you. The other thing that I would say with regard to inside of Africa is the changing nature of really what people want to see the continent become. And we're seeing much more focus now because of the de-risking, the split from the United States and China, where people who normally, even MAGA people like myself or Trump supporters would say, hold on, Africa's where the growth is. We need to make sure that we rebuild those friendships, we rebuild those partnerships. And so the choice, I believe, is in front of the people of Africa. And I think it's also incumbent upon the West to help them make that choice, whether it be investment coming in, not giving them the social engineering nonsense, but saying, here's where we can put real money into infrastructure. Here's where we can put real money into the economy so we can be partners going forward. So I know I just have a short amount of time today, so I'll wrap it up there, but very bullish about the opportunities in Africa that are coming up. And that's part of the reason why I joined an emerging markets PE fund, Gateway Partners, that's based out of both Dubai and Singapore. And so most of my work is focused on sub-Saharan Africa and Southeast Asia because I'm putting my money where the mouth is. So thank you everyone for having me. Appreciate it.